Hey, I'm Jason Harrell.
And I'm Justin Boyd.
And let's freaking do this.
Welcome to the debut episode of Let's Frickin' Do This. My name is Justin Boyd, and I'm thrilled to be joined today with my longtime friend, Jason Harrell. Jason, we've been talking about this for a long time. It's a long time coming. How you feeling? This podcast journey has begun. How you feeling?
The podcast journey has begun. I'm feeling good. I'm really happy to have Matt here. Although maybe I'm like going out of order here. I'm not supposed to tell that he's even here right now.
Yeah, you need to follow my script word for word. Okay, we went over this.
Country and Americana. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, you already spoiled it, but our special guest for their first episode is Matt Moran. And Jason, please intro him.
Yeah, so Matt is a country and Americana. I guess you're going to describe your own music for us here in a minute, I hope. But Matt is one of a handful of people that I actually have met over the past however many months, exclusively through Twitter. And it's been awesome discovering this little community of musicians and creative type people, other podcasters actually, and just this interaction that we have and sharing our own kind of creative attempts and efforts and all this, and then Matt puts this album out, which I would have loved had I never, like, if I just stumbled across it on, any kind of streaming service or on the radio or whatever, because it totally could be on a radio station somewhere.
Oh yeah, it should be.
I have no idea if it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's all over. Maybe everyone in the world knows about Matt except and we think,
and they're just not telling me. Maybe that's
it. But yeah, Matt, your album, I came across, and I think that might have been part of why we started talking about doing this again, because Justin and I talked about doing this forever. We were kids listening to Howard Stern when we shouldn't have been, and we always thought we were hilarious and wanted to do a radio show, and so now we have one, and you are our first guest.
I'm digging it, man. I'm the test subject.
You're the test subject. So where are you right now, Matt?
I am in Mangum, Oklahoma, in my bedroom, because it is the only place I will not be disturbed in my house.
Yeah, I have my kids out in the living room with the TV blasting. I don't even know what they're watching. They were playing Halo earlier.
Maybe they're watching Howard Stern. You never know.
What's that? Howard Stern. Yeah, Howard Stern. Yeah, my wife was playing Halo with my son earlier, but now I think she's probably streaming some kind of crime or medical drama and trying to devise ways to do away with me.
That's funny. My wife just walked in the room and I looked at her right as you said that. She does the same thing. She's absolutely all over anything unsolved mystery. Like, I think she watched one series which was like, about all women killers that killed their husbands.
Right. Like true crime kind of stuff. True crime is big. It's big on streaming. It's big on podcasts. Yeah.
My wife likes to tell people that we will never get divorced, but she might get a new shed one day. Anyway, so you're there in Mangum in your room trying to hide away from the other noise in your house, which I can totally relate to.
It also functions as my studio, my recording studio, this bedroom. So
okay.
Interesting fact there that nobody probably cared about, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something I want to get into because I am very interested in finding out about your setup for recording, because I asked you about the Heartache Kid album after listening to it, because you have two albums that are out there on streaming, like two full-length albums on there. You got Black Sheep that you put out in 2020, right?
Yes.
So you got Black Sheep, and then you got Heartache Kid. The Black Sheep has some fantastic songs on it. I'm going to I told Justin earlier, so I'm going to be completely candid and tell you I have not spent as much time with that album as I have with the new one.
I mean, I don't blame you. I don't think I have either. That was recorded a lot more quickly, and I just kind of put it out there. There wasn't a whole lot of, I didn't know what I was doing. We'll put it that way.
Well, I have a similar projection with my recording setup too, but that's what I wanted to talk about, because the production value clearly took a step up in Heartache Kid.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because on Black Sheep, I recorded Black Sheep with a Tascam 4-track cassette recorder.
Okay.
Because it was just like mid-pandemic, and like I wanted to get these songs down, but I didn't want to mess with. I just wanted to do it easy and get them out of my head. So
yeah.
I had a 4-track cassette recorder in my closet, and I just pulled out a mixer, and just started recording basically.
So that a 4-track, because you said a cassette recorder?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this stuff was recorded onto cassette. The 2021 was recorded onto cassettes.
Yeah, it was recorded onto like 4 different cassettes, and the reason I did that was because the 4-track has a tendency to wear out the cassettes really fast when you're recording. You know,
yeah,
like, people start to get real warbly real fast. So like that was another thing that like it was a way to keep myself from overthinking it and just do it.
Yeah. Were these songs that you like were holding on to, trying to hoping to do like some kind of professional thing, and then you just like forced yourself to do it, or what was the deal?
Yeah, that's kind of it. Like I had these songs that I'd written over like the past 5 or 6 years, but I'd done demos and stuff for before, like in studio demos, but I just never could like get them to sound how I wanted to. And
right.
So I told myself, like, if I don't just put these out like as they are, I'll never finish it.
Yeah.
And which was a good idea. I mean, I just put it out and got it over, left those songs, you know, like creatively in the past, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I didn't spend another 5 years trying to figure out what to do with them.
Yeah. Have you had the thought occur to you in the past, I guess it's been 2 years now, have you had the thought occur to you that you might want to revisit them at some point? And
I have, but I kind of almost feel like at this point it's very like it almost be like Springsteen redoing Nebraska. Like it just kind of stands.
Well, you know, I was going to bring up Springsteen with the Nebraska thing, because that's exactly what Nebraska was. It was supposed to be a demo, and he recorded it on tape, and it turned into like one of the like foundational albums for the kind of music that I mean, in my view, the kind of music that you're doing, really.
Absolutely. And so it's kind of like that thought, like, you know, because I know there's, I mean, I'm not trying to like, I know there's people out there that have told me that they really like the songs, and I don't want to like, I don't know, I guess go back and rewrite what people like.
Mm-hmm.
No sense in doing that, I guess.
Right.
I maybe want it to sound like a full band or something.
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely it makes it interesting to hear stuff like, I mean, like, what was it? Patty Griffin just released an album, and as far as I haven't read anything about the album. I heard it when it popped up on my like new release radar thing. But it sounds to me like it's basically just her songs, that like demos of her songs that she recorded on tapes. Like the cover of the thing is a tape, a cassette tape.
Oh, really?
And I'm pretty sure that's the whole point of it. Like she released the whole thing. It's just like this demo thing. And people are interested in that. I mean, hell, that the Springsteen album was just supposed to be demos, and they were going to go in and record it with E Street. And I read about this a while back, or quite a while back, but whoever the producer was, hears it and he's like, "Nope, this is it."
Yeah, it's just like sometimes you just the song, and we've been on tour a little bit, and and some of those songs, like, might bring them up to like a semi full band level, like in a live situation.
Yeah.
But that I think that also is kind of one of the cool things is you can have this album that's acoustic, and then you can make different versions of the songs live that will only exist a piece at a time.
Yeah, and it can be different every time, I suppose.
Yeah.
Do y'all? So when because I've never seen you live, I'm going to see you live on July 1st.
Excited about that.
But like when you've got, and you're doing that show down there, most of these Texas deals as just kind of like a solo acoustic, right?
Well, in Denton and Dallas will be full band.
Oh, okay.
Or I say Dallas, I mean Fort Worth.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Fort Worth. That was not up here in Oklahoma. It's all just everything between the state line and like halfway through the state is just Dallas. We just call it Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's really funny how the music scene in Oklahoma and North Texas just like blends together. Like it's just the same. Like you got like where is Zach Malloy from? Zach Malloy lives
Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if you know who Zach Malloy is, Matt, but like from the Nixons. Do you remember the band, the Nixons?
Nixons, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He's from, or he lives in Oklahoma, but that scene sort of always felt like a Dallas scene back in those days.
It's pretty interesting. And then like you've got Tulsa, which is part of like, almost seems like it's part of like Tulsa and Northwest Arkansas, or like their own scene, because they've got Tulsa, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, all those just right in there, and they kind of have their own geographical thing going on.
Yeah. Well, I wish that I could catch one of those full band shows, because I feel like do you guys kind of like rock it up a bit for some of those with the full band? Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of my songs are sad and sometimes slow, but I don't think anybody wants to. Well, I won't say that, but when I go to a concert, I want to have a damn good time, even if the songs are sad.
Right.
So I try to keep it pretty upbeat. We don't leave a lot of space between songs. We just kind of go at it and have fun, and I like to cover songs that are more upbeat, like some just straight up honky tonk songs and stuff. And
yeah, that's a good idea. Like you leave the upbeat songs for somebody else to write.
Right? There you go. Exactly.
You bring in the covers and the ones that people know anyway. So you get them that fix that they want out of a show, and then you make them cry again with your own songs.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
What do you have in it as a full band? Like, what do you 4-piece or?
We're a 3-piece. Probably.
Okay.
We're an unusual 3-piece. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
It's me on guitar and I sing, and then we got a drummer, and then my brother holds down the keys and backup vocals.
Okay.
So we're kind of doing a Doors thing here, where he's holding down the bass lines too. So
yeah.
And that's just kind of out of necessity at the moment, I guess you'd say. There's just not a whole lot of musicians in Southwest Oklahoma, so
yeah. Well, and then the more folks you bring on that stage with you, the more you got to pay.
And if I can afford to pay more people, I definitely would.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of the thing. Like a few weeks back, I got to play a couple shows with South Texas Tweak, and we were going to play. Originally, we were set up. We were going to play 4 shows, or I was going to play 4 shows with them. But he's already got 5 people in his band, and I was just coming in as the fiddle player, as the 6th member, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, we sounded really good, especially having no rehearsals before the shows. So, but I mean, that diminishes it. It sounded great, but after the first couple of shows, they were in Austin, and so not much travel time or anything like that. And then the rest were going to be one was in San Antonio, and then the other one's going to be in what's it called, Martindale, where you're playing. Yeah. What's that cafe called?
Martindale River Cafe.
Martindale River Cafe. That's exactly where he played. So I was going to play down there too, and it was just like, gosh, financially for 6 guys to go do it, it's just like didn't make any sense. But I was going to say you were talking about your band doesn't really have a bass player. I went to see my cousin's band for the first time. Was it last weekend? They're called Brave Little Howl. They're a Dallas band also.
Yeah.
And they played at Ghost Note Brewery down in Dripping Springs. And so I went down there and saw them, and they're normally a 6-piece, but they made the trip without their bass player. And so they had the keys essentially holding down the bass.
Yeah, and that's what my brother does. And I mean, he's got a Nord Stage 3, so like it's freaking supercomputer, can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So he's got like running different instruments out of different outputs, and he tries to explain it to me, and I just say, whatever sounds good, man.
Right. I told somebody this past weekend that like they were talking all this engineering, jargon, and I was like, I'm just the guy that tries to make the words rhyme.
Exactly.
But you clearly have I think it's pretty clear you have a much higher level of understanding of the engineering stuff than I do, because I put out an album of my own that was like recorded in my closet, and it sounds like it was recorded in my closet. Like this latest one that you put out, the Heartache Kid, it's it's top notch to my ears anyway. I didn't.
Thank you. I feel like that guy that knows how to work with things, but he doesn't know what that's all called. He's like,
yeah,
know the right buttons to push and the right levers to pull, but I couldn't tell you what the name of it is, but I know what it does.
Yeah. What's that? So what was the difference? Like, is it just you learning more about what levers to pull or whatever, or like what was the difference between 2020 and?
I really think it's that's a lot of it is just kind of, for me, sitting there and tweaking with stuff, just really trying to learn how the tools work. I'm never going to be, a freaking Nashville engineer, but I can watch the YouTube videos. I tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can learn to do anything off a YouTube video, man. I've done so much like home repair stuff here because of YouTube.
Even
videos.
Podcasting. You can learn how to podcasting. Not
we
that
actually,
we learn. Yeah, we're masters of this.
We watched YouTube videos to figure out how to make the intro and outro.
There you go, right? And it's not a slight to any like professional engineers out there. They what took me 10 hours to mix a song, they could probably do in half an hour.
Yeah.
So it's just just a lot of, and I think it's like anything I've experienced in my life. There's 2 things you need to have to get things done. You either need money or you need time. And I've never had money, but I've always had time.
Yeah.
So just spend time learning, just, as much as I can, as often as I can.
So is it like, do you have just like a setup where you're plugging straight into an interface and then just like using plugins and stuff for your mixing?
Yeah. So like, I don't have like a physical mixer. So yeah, I'm going into the interface. Either the mic's going to the interface, or if there's a keyboard line into the interface, whatever it might be, and then laying it down just track by track, and then going back through and manually, like in the box, I guess is what they call it.
Yeah.
In the box. I don't have any outboard gear or anything.
Right.
The money versus time thing.
Absolutely right. My what I'm really curious about is the drums. How did you record the drums?
So with drums,
By the way, I'm going to pause you just for a second, interrupt, and say this may be getting a little nerdy for people I don't know.
yeah, I'm sorry, folks out there.
No, I mean, like I'm having a conversation with Matt here, Justin. Like,
I'm pushing buttons and looking at stuff, and I'm trying to, it's working out. It's working out.
and I did wonder because every now and I can't see the chat. So this is our first episode, so I don't know how this works. But I keep seeing, seen a couple of times like somebody commenting, and it pops up in the side there, like Kurt made a comment earlier. Yeah. Kurt Fortmeyer, who is another one of these folks that I follow on Twitter. He's got like a bazillion songs out there, like a song for every occasion, literally.
Yeah, he's prolific.
Y'all need to come up with a name, like y'all are like the Avengers, but with like musicians or something. Yeah. Y'all need to work on that. It's all about branding. That's all it is,
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, continue the tech talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just I felt like I didn't want to lose anybody.
I'll make it real quick. I'll answer his question real quick. As far as like drums, because I don't have a lot of nice gear. A lot of the drum sounds, are finding good triggered sounds, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because I don't have great drum set, but I don't want that to come across. Somebody's out there, has recorded a damn good sounding snare drum. I might sub it in for my snare drum. I'm not gonna lie about that.
So are you using like an electric, like a drum pad or something, and then using triggers for that, or are you?
Yeah, just kind of get down the basics and find good sounds after that is my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
I don't have access to a whole lot of stuff, and mine's not the best, so pull in some samples, see what sounds good, and I mean, I'm a drummer. I drum all the parts, but that might be my snare sound on there. Yeah,
that's an interesting fact. I think that I don't know that everybody recognizes. It like the stuff that I put out, most of it doesn't have, like, it's somebody else's drum sounds as well most of the time.
I think that's kind of like the industry standard, because when someone out there has recorded 500 different samples of the perfect snare drum sound, why chase it on your own?
Yeah. Plus, they probably recorded it with like a $5,000 microphone or something and ran it through all this outboard equipment that's costs twice that much.
Yeah, and me running a 57 on my crappy snare drum is not going to compete with that.
But I'll tell you, I know this stuff, right? I know that this stuff is how it's done and how it happens. I listen to your album, I can't tell. It seems like a live drum kit to me.
Well, that means I must have done something right. So thanks.
Yeah, you did it right, I think.
And from an outside perspective, like, I'm not a musician. I don't have the ability, the talent, the knowledge that y'all have, but yeah, listening to the Heartache Kid, the album, I mean, it sounds professionally produced to me. Like, it sounds like something you would hear. Like, I told Jason, I was like, not that, I guess, radio isn't as big of a thing, obviously, as it used to be, but like, I feel like some of your songs should be like in movies or TV shows, on streaming shows or something. Like, there's something about your music
movies,
that has
sure. TV. Yeah. Some of these dramas that my wife watches, like,
I thought about that. And I think, I wonder if I sing too many damn words for that. Like, I feel like a lot of stuff I hear is like, they'll have the instrumental parts and songs, and I'm like very get in, get out on my stuff. I don't leave a whole lot of room for ambiance.
But the fact that you recorded everything and produced it yourself, that's incredibly impressive, I think. And I know Jason was kind of telling me that all this stuff too. I don't understand how y'all do that. Like, it's hard enough to like do like a podcast where you got a microphone and a camera on your laptop, but to like produce all these songs, play these parts, that's pretty impressive.
Well, I appreciate you for saying that. It's definitely a lot of work, as I'm sure Jason knows. It's like, I think if I had to average it out, I think every song on the album probably took me, 15 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put together and it's one of the things I think about is like, you think when you go into the recording process, like, this is going to be quick, this is going to be easy, I know how to play all the parts.
Mm-hmm.
But then you forget that, if the song is 4 minutes long, you got to play the 4-minute part how many times, because you're going to screw it up how many times, because you got to, then listen back to it and mix it how many different times. And all told, you end up with listen to a song for, 15 hours before you even know it.
And if you're like me, you also have to account the amount of time that you hear it and you think that it's shit and you don't want to release it because you don't want to put anything out there that's terrible. And then you months later you come back and listen to it and like, well, shit, that sounds pretty good.
I'm not gonna lie, I did that with Heartache Kid. Like, I was in the mastering process, and like, finally my wife come up to me after I'd been at the table for like 8 hours working on it. She came up to me. She was like, after this one, you're done for like 4 days. You're done. You're not allowed to listen to it. I said, okay. So I went and got finished with it. Did the car test, and sitting there doing the car test. And I'm like, God, this sounds like absolute garbage. Like, I feel like the cymbals are just cutting in my ears. And 4 days later, I go do the car test again. I'm like, no, actually, that sounds pretty good. I don't hear any of that stuff that I was hearing, because my ears have just tuned in on everything bad.
Yeah, you hear frequencies that you don't want to hear, and then you forget that you didn't want to hear them when it's something like that. There's some kind of amnesia or something that happens after a few days after you've listened to it. You come back and it sounds better. Is this your brother right here, Daniel?
What's that?
I said, is this your brother, Daniel?
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it is. If Matt's in charge, you play a part again, okay, that's fair. That's fair. My brother will often say that I am the worst person to work with in the recording studio, because I am very I'm a perfectionist when it comes to playing the parts.
Yeah. What was I going to say? And then multiply that by however many instruments you end up playing, because you got to.
Yeah, and I will give. I do need to say, my brother, he's the one that he played all the keys on everything, and he did an incredible job. And he's got his own home studio set up, so it was cool. We'd I'd put together the basics of a song, and I'd send it to him, and be like, "Hey man, lay down whatever you think this song needs. Like, don't tell me what you're gonna do. Just lay it down, send it back to me." And so he would do that, and a lot of times he'd send me back like 8 tracks, 8 different keyboard tracks and things, and I'd sit here, play with it all, and figure out how I want it to sound and everything. And a lot of times that would change the whole sound of the song for me. So I'd go back and re-record my parts and build it from there. So he had a lot of influence on the album as well. The sound.
It all sounds like you're putting a lot of time into this, and I was checking out your website, doing a little bit of research. I saw that you said that the last 4 years you played 250 plus shows. Like, that's
a conservative estimate.
Okay. I mean, even still, you given that like half of that time was during a pandemic, you've definitely been out on the road playing shows. And I just wanted to know, like, what's the response been from the crowds? Like, what's the song that people seem to enjoy? Have you had the chance to play Heartache Kid in front of that album in front of people? Or
we actually, we have a guy in Altus, which is kind of we call that our home base. It's not right, but that's where a lot of fans and friends are and stuff. And he, every time we play that song, Heartache Kid, just goes wild. His name's Jimbo. Like, he sees me and he just Heartache Kid. but yeah, so people like that one, and there's a lot of songs from the previous record, because I've been able to play those songs a lot more, that people like. Rivertown's one of them, and Thrift Store Cowboys, a big one that people like to hear. So that's it's definitely interesting. I'm not used to people, you know. I don't know if it's something you ever get used to. People liking your songs that you
liking your stuff. Yeah. Well, we asked if you wanted to play some songs. Is there one you want to play right now for us? Is there?
Yeah, I could go. I could play Heartache Kid. I think it won on the Twitter poll I did the other day.
Yeah, it did win. Yeah.
Did it win?
It did win. It was very close.
Just barely edged out Palomino.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll play that one real quick. Hopefully,
okay. Cool.
I haven't sang all day, so we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
Ever since I was young, I've known I ain't the same as the other folks around here, 'cause in my head it always rains. I tried to snuff it out, drink away the pain. That didn't work, so I just write it down these days. 'Cause I'm the Heartache Kid, singer of sad songs, bring you down, make you wanna cry. Heartache Kid, don't know what they told you about me, but it's probably that. I'm the Heartache Kid. I'm the Heartache Kid. So I pack my bags into the 40 kind of line. Then I headed east to find some peace of mind. Sang my song wherever they give me a dime. Paying all my dues one dive bar at a time. But I'm the Heartache Kid, singer of sad songs, bring you down, make you wanna cry. Heartache Kid, don't know what they told you about me, but it's probably that. I'm the Heartache Kid. I'm the Heartache Kid. This road is lonely, so am I. So if you're lonely, here all night. I'm the Heartache Kid, singer of sad songs, bring you down, make you wanna cry. Heartache Kid, don't know what they told you about me, but it's probably that. I'm the Heartache Kid, singer of sad songs, bring you down, make you wanna cry. Heartache Kid, don't know what they told you about me, but it's probably that. I'm the Heartache Kid. I'm the Heartache Kid. I'm the Heartache Kid. I'm the Heartache Kid. That was Heartache Kid.
Boom.
That was awesome. That was great. That song has been playing in my head for like about 2 or 3 weeks. I've been listening to that. Like,
That means it's a banger.
it's awesome. And like the thing about it is like, it's the album title. I think it's a great nickname if you want to use it down the road. You know, you could be the Heartache. I mean, that's a pretty cool nickname. You know, like
I kind of ripped it off from Neil Simon. Don't tell him.
okay. Well, I was thinking like the Heartbreak Kid, like Shawn Michaels,
Yeah.
the wrestler. Yeah, I thought like similar.
Giving him some sweet chin music.
Sweet.
Yeah, there you go. But no, that's a great song. And you know, whenever I think this is the first song that Jason told me to listen to from your stuff, and I heard it and I was like, you know, he was trying to ask, he's like, what do you think it sounds like? And I was like, there's kind of a Killer's vibe to it. I don't know if you've noticed that, or if you've heard, like, if people have said that to you, but like, there's something, I don't know, like that song especially has like a Killer's kind of thing to it.
I had someone say as I wrote songs with kind of a Brandon Flowers vibe the other day.
Right.
That's the second time I've heard this, which is
okay.
I
I
love
think
hearing
part
that.
of it. What's that?
Go ahead, Jason.
I love hearing that kind of feedback because it's just like, I can't tell what I sound like. I know what I listen to, so and I write the song, so I think I know what I sound like, but I don't really know. Maybe I'm way off base.
See, the thing is like that's what I thought at first, and now I don't. I mean, I still kind of hear that, but now like you just sound like Matt Moran because I've listened to your stuff enough where that's what you sound like. But and something else that you sound like, and I think this is one of your big influences from what we've talked about earlier is Jason asked me about, hey, like what else does he sound like? And I said he sounds like if Bruce Springsteen grew up in Oklahoma instead of New Jersey. So like,
I'll take that. I won't.
Yeah.
That is a high compliment for me. I'm a big, huge Bruce fan. So
yeah, there's something the songs that there's like a hardworking kind of like that kind of Springsteen vibe to a lot of your songs, and I think that it really kind of it shows. I mean, I don't think the sound is similar, but like the vibe is definitely there.
Like Rodeo Clown, like Rodeo Clown. Rodeo Clown is a great example of that. Like you're describing your life as a musician, but you're putting it in terms of a rodeo clown. But
right,
there's definitely this sort of sense of duty and like it's something you've got to do. It's just something that is what you do. But yeah, I think that part of the emotion is there for sure.
And I think I always want to, because I've had people ask me, like, why do I live here in Southwest Oklahoma? And a lot of it is, like these are my people. These are who I grew up around. These are the people that I want to represent in music, in writing. Because it's not like we got a lot of voices out here to do it. So
yeah. As I don't, we're kind of digging into this, like who, comparisons of who you sound like. I don't know if that, I don't know how you feel about that. To me, when I hear somebody say pretty much anybody, I kind of feel like my perspective is, well, they're listening and they're picking up on what they're picking up, what resonates with them. That's the way I always take it. But to Justin's point, like you've got your own sound. Like it's definitely these are I couldn't do these songs. Like they would be me doing your songs. They would be your songs still. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does absolutely. Because I'm we're in the country music scene. We all know what it's like to play covers and I'll never be able to recreate Bruce Springsteen. Just like. Or I'd never be able to recreate one of your songs.
Well, you've captured, but it's like you've captured, a certain thing on the songs that you've put out there, like, and that's what it is. Like anybody else doing it would just be, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it's like you captured the essence of Springsteen or these other artists, but it's just with your sound, which I think that's cool. I mean, that's what everyone wants to do. Like you want to
definitely
have a sound that is.
I'm happy to hear that I have a sound.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever told me that before. So I'm super happy to hear that I'm, at least.
Well, I also hear it because, I've seen the videos you post on Twitter of like, there's obviously the silly ones and everything, but like you did, you posted some videos of you doing some pop punk stuff too, as well.
Oh, yeah. The bread and butter, man. I have this theory. Okay. I have this theory. And I tell it to anyone who will listen. 50s country and pop punk are the same music. If you break it down like chord structures, lyrically, harmonies, like if you were to just play a 50s country song with power chords, you'd have pop punk. And if you played a pop punk song with a steel guitar and a fiddle, you'd have 50s country.
Yeah. There's some guy on YouTube that does that stuff. Like I don't know, it's like if Dwight Yoakam did a Blink-182 song or whatever. Like it's like, and he totally redoes this. I don't know if y'all have seen that, but
I have seen some of that. So
that theory is like, because they're both, three chord structures and
right,
short, tight, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, done.
So who are some of your favorite pop punk bands or some punk bands or some bands that you listened to growing up.
Oh, okay. Growing up, pop punk. Of course. First tape I ever bought was Green Day Dookie, man.
Okay.
Like it's the ultimate '90s pop punk album right there.
Yeah.
So that was my first one, and God, I've listened to so much pop punk over the years, and like that old school. I really love like old school emo and hardcore stuff like that. I'm a big Promise Ring fan, big American football fan. That Midwest emo where there's.
Do you remember a band called The Vanished?
It's ringing a bell, but I can't say for certain.
God, what was their song, Justin?
I don't know. When you said the name, it kind of like it triggered something in me, but I can't remember it honestly. But I know the name now. You said that I haven't heard the name in so long.
It's funny. I should have looked this up because they were a band like back in. I think the first time I saw them, they opened up for. I think they actually opened up for Blue October or something. But it was like early 2000s, and they had like a handful of like maybe 2 or 3 albums and an EP. But my wife and I were really big fans of theirs, and we went and saw them at what was it, Emos in Austin, and that's where I sort of backwards ended up asking her to marry me.
Backwards. Okay. How do you
So
backwards?
we're watching the show and hanging out, and I don't even know how the conversation got started. And she says something like, when are you gonna ask me to marry you or something? And I was like, oh yeah, well, you want to get married? So romantic. It's a really romantic.
Oh, if only life was like the movies. Actually,
Yeah.
that would have made sense in like a early 2000s independent comedy or something.
Right.
Like a rom-com or something.
It worked out pretty well, but yeah, they were one of those kind of emo type bands. Looking it up. I feel terrible that I'm not telling you what the songs were that they did.
Well, while you're looking for that, Matt, I want. Go ahead.
Chemical
Jason, go ahead.
reaction. It's just a chemical reaction. Anyway, you got to look it up and listen to it. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's got that whole My Chemical Romance type of sound to it.
Okay.
But
Okay. Matt, so one of our me and Jason collectively, one of our favorite bands of all time is Bowling for Soup. Are you familiar with the Bowling for Soup? Have you heard their songs? Okay.
I'm definitely familiar with Bowling for Soup.
Okay, that's cool. Because I mean, they're also a band that's like you talked about that Dallas Fort Worth kind of extending into Oklahoma deal. That's they were a Denton band. I went to North Texas, so I'm familiar with Denton. They were there when I was in college, and me and
I'm
Jason
pretty sure the Vanished were also. By the way, I'm just going to keep.
I think so. Yeah. This is a secret Vanished podcast. It's like, Jason has this like separate agenda for this whole night. And we get it, Jason. You like the Vanished. We got it, bud. Okay. Like, I'm gonna put their link in the description, so we're good at covered.
They're the reason I have a family. Okay.
Okay. There you go. The origin story of the Harrells is because of the Vanished. But the reason why I was saying Bowling for Soup is because like the title of our podcast, Let's Freaking Do This, it's in a song, in a Bowling for Soup song. They say the lead singer says that, and I think that their songs, there's such like a fun to their songs, and you talk about when you played on stage, and a lot of what they do is like they have like kind of a stage act in between their songs. They're doing jokes, and I've heard you on other shows, on the radio show, and you have a pretty good sense of humor. Do you ever do that, or do you all just feel like you're just up there to play music and that's it?
That's always kind of an interesting situation. I feel like it really depends on the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some crowds, are really into jokes and stuff, and some places you play are very serious. They want to hear music and
right.
They aren't here for jokes. But
most of the places I play are just like they would prefer that I just shut up and like strum the guitar a few times and let them eat their dinner.
I think it just depends on the mood too, But
yeah.
I am always 100% always willing to make an ass of myself on stage.
Yeah.
I think the first full band show we did, I did it in a pair of Daisy Dukes and boots. So
Okay, there
So,
you
like,
go.
So the recent controversy with American Aquarium's post that you have to wear pants on stage, you definitely fall solidly on the you don't have to wear pants on stage.
I personally will wear pants, but if I'm not going to wear pants, it's going to be something absolutely ridiculous. Like I'm just going to go overboard in the other direction.
Yeah, it's almost becoming a thing, like jorts. Like jorts,
Right?
everybody's got to wear jorts.
We called it a jong, is what we called it.
Called it what?
A jong.
John.
A jean thong.
I gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured it out.
See, I'm behind the curve.
No, yeah, we did that. We all showed up in jorts, especially, my brother who's 6'5", 300 pounds,
Hey.
Of course, I heard all the ladies loved him that night, so.
So, is that? I'd like for you to give us like your best kind of crowd story, and maybe your worst story, or maybe it's the same story. Just your experiences playing in front of people, things that you can remember.
Oh, okay. Worst story. Let's go with that. That's probably easy to think of. Okay.
Maybe you could write a sad song about it if you want to in the future.
So,
or maybe right now you could write one.
Right. I played at this little bar in Hollis, Oklahoma, and there were only two people there. There was the bartender, of course, and then there was this guy. I can't remember his name to save my life, but he was like, he had been there all day. He was like completely wasted. Like when I showed up, he was passed out in the booth. And so I started playing, and he would wake up randomly to come over and yell lyrics in my face as I was singing them. And I would tell him, hey, no, we don't do that. All right, we stay back. And he'd be like, okay. And he'd go pass out in the booth again. And he'd get up and he'd come back. He'd start doing it all over again. I'd be like, remember what we talked about? Like, you got to stay back. He's like, oh, okay. And he'd go pass out in the booth. And we did this for like 2 hours straight. Just the two of us.
And now he's your best friend.
I don't know about that.
He's actually in the other room.
He's your merch guy. He's your merch guy. So
yeah. And then best story is every other night that wasn't that night.
Shout out to lyrics screaming in your face guy from what did you say? Lawton?
Hollis, right?
Hollis, tiny little town, tiny little bar.
Hollis.
I think it's closed down now, that bar. I mean,
he's still there though. He's still there.
The town ghost, the legend.
His spirit lives on. Yeah. I mean, that could be a song. If you're really hurting for content later on, you could dig back into that. If nothing else, it could be a concept video, like just
right. Yeah.
One of your songs. Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, that was probably the worst, but it was all right. I think it was like right when I was starting, so I was just willing to play anywhere for any amount of money. So I think they offered me like $50 probably for a couple hours. And so I was like, fuck it, I want to play anywhere and everywhere.
So this makes me think one of the things we wanted to talk to you about. So like what approximate time frame was that? Like a year?
Gosh, that would have been probably about 5 years ago.
Okay. Because Justin and I listened to another podcast, or actually I guess it was a radio station that you got on. What was it, Justin? What was the...
Oh, I don't know. It was like a Legends of Country was like
Legends.
this.
Yeah, Legends
was a station. I don't remember the call letters.
Yeah, Legends.
92.9. There you go.
So I think in that interview,
that time too.
In that interview, he had talked to you that you had talked about that you had a punk band back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. So the punk band that you had as a what age, what time frame was that in your life?
That was like 2007.
Okay.
around 2007. So I was like, 19 and full of piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
Matt,
It's
just say it's the Vanish. Just say it's the Vanish.
It's the
to make
Vanish.
Jason
That's what we're
happy.
trying to get to.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to derail you. Go ahead.
No. It was just we had graduated high school and we were like, fuck it, we want to tour around the country and play punk shows. So we did, and we made very little money, but we made a lot of friends that I still keep in contact with today. Like,
So you actually took that show on the road and went on tour.
Yeah, played at every fucking squatter's house we could find.
Yeah.
Between, like here in Florida. Had some pretty wild times. It was different. The music scene was different back then, pre-social media, pandemic, pre all this stuff. It was different. Which I'm not telling you anything new, but it was back when like you could just get in a van and call up some people in a certain city and they'd be like, yeah, we'll put together a house party for you, you'll play.
Yeah. So how long did you do that?
Did that for a couple years.
Okay.
We'd go out in like 3-week stints. We played, basically we spent a lot of time like cruising I-10 back and forth between like Houston and Florida. And we spent a lot of time, playing around Atlanta and stuff, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
So you played in can you tell us what the name of the band was? Was it The Vanish? No, I'm just kidding.
It was The Vanished, yes. No, the band had a stupid name. It was called Dick Chesney, and I'm not sure where it came from. But it was just a stupid name, and like you might be able to find some videos on YouTube, maybe. Because like I said, it was like pre-social media, so like all of it's like lost now. Like I don't really have any artifacts of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just memories.
Like, did you guys have a MySpace?
We did have a MySpace. Yeah.
You had to have MySpace.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't a real band if you didn't have a MySpace.
Yeah, we did have a MySpace, and we may have had like 200 followers on it too. So
Woo.
big time.
Damn.
Big time.
Not bad.
So I feel like in some ways, I mean, mostly I'm just trying to make this all about me, but I feel like in some ways we have a similar.
That's coming through loud and clear. Trust me.
Yes. We have a similar, some similar paths that we took because I was in a kind of a rock band in my 20s as well, and then I think you had said on that podcast that you kind of put it down and kind of focused on family life for a while, right?
Yeah, because I met my wife when, like, right after I got out of the punk scene. I met my wife, and we had kids real young. Use protection, people. That's how you prevent babies. No, we had our first kid, and then we just decided, like, we knew we wanted 3, so we just kept going. And so yeah, I just had to put it down for a while until things got stable.
Mm-hmm. And you got a real job.
Well, this is my real job right now.
But you did have one.
Yeah, I did have one. It paid a lot better too, by the way.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I was actually, for a couple of years, I was actually the publisher of a newspaper, if you can believe that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. See, now you have a connection with Justin. Justin's got a journalism background.
Yeah, it was journalism. I worked at newspapers all over Texas. And
Oh, nice. What? I worked my way up to that just through I worked my way up through the ad side. I don't know.
Okay. No, I was on the print editorial side. Yeah.
You were on the fun side.
Not fun pay wise, but I guess fun like job wise. I guess I don't know. I'm not in it anymore, so obviously I didn't have a lot of fun. But
yeah,
that's okay. That's okay.
Stress for me, that's for sure.
I was on the side that had nothing to do with newspapers and didn't really understand why people bought them.
And they don't. So I mean,
they don't. So here we are.
Yeah, they don't anymore. We
Yeah.
tried to fight that battle for too long. And
So you had your punk band. You put that down for a while. Like going back even further than that. What was your introduction to music? How did you pick up anything in the first place? Like,
my
was guitar your
introduction-
first instrument?
It was, and
Okay.
my first recollection of wanting to play guitar was that this is embarrassing, but when I was a kid, that song "Everything I Do" by Bryan Adams,
Yeah.
which
Great
is
song.
interestingly enough like a piano song,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
made me want to play guitar because I think I
Hmm.
saw him with the guitar in like the video or something, and that did it for me. That sold it. I was like, I got to be Bryan Adams. You know, we had the Reckless album at home. I listened to that shit. I was like, I got to be Bryan Adams, man. So I started taking lessons and just never really stopped. And
Yeah.
then I had a guitar teacher when I was like 13, asked me if I'd ever written a song. And I said no. And so like he made that the primary basis of his instruction for like the next 2 years.
Oh wow, that's cool.
With like to just, you know, because at that age, you know, when you're 13, 14, there's only so much you're going to be able to like technically understand and do. And, you know, I wasn't trying to become a virtuoso.
Right.
So it was kind of like his way of leading me in a direction where I could, you know, grow creatively instead of just technically.
I mean,
Yeah, it sounds like. Go ahead.
that's a pretty interesting, like guitar teacher that's kind of leading you in the direction of writing your own songs. Like he must have been a songwriter himself, right?
Yeah, it was really cool. I was really lucky to have that because if I hadn't had that, I don't know what if this would have ever turned out.
Yeah.
Life, you know, would I be here doing this? I don't know.
What's the first song that you're still proud of that you wrote?
Well, let's see. I'd say I was in a band. So going back, I was in a band for like a year when I was like 24. So it was like a punk band, and then had a couple kids, and then I had just like a group of friends. We were in a band. We played like a few shows and recorded some songs. And those songs that we recorded, the band was called The Typist. I think it's still in Bandcamp or something. But that was the first time I was really proud of a song I had written. And of course, I wrote with a group of people. But that probably right there, like, sticks out in my mind is like the moment where it's like an aha moment.
Uh-huh.
Where like you're like, oh, I know how to do something that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
It only took me 10 years.
Yeah.
But you know, I guess that's just songwriting's just like anything. It's a muscle you got to build.
Yeah.
Gonna
Yeah.
balance.
What's your so you come up with what do you come up with, like the concept first, or you come up with a line first? Are you noodling on the guitar? Like what's your process?
You know, I'd say it's like different for almost every song. Like, because there's some like Rodeo Clown, for example. I wrote that when I was driving home from work, just thinking about song ideas, and then like that popped in my head, so I just start thinking of like, you know, lines. How would the song start? You know, what would I begin by talking about, and kind of build the lines out, and then as I'm driving, think of what the melody might be to match with those lines, and then I get home, and the guitar part's easy because the melody's done, the words are done. I just gotta find the right chord. And then you have songs like Heartache Kid, where I wrote everything, you know, at the same time: guitar, words, melody. It's all just coming out. So, you know, it's just kind of different every time. And sometimes it's just like I'll have a concept, and I'll be like, I really want to write about that concept, and build out from a concept. Or maybe it's just a word or a phrase. So
Do
it's,
you,
just
do,
it's a shit show in here. In here, it's just a shit show. Does what
Yeah.
it wants.
do you have? I ask this because I find this about myself a lot. Do you have songs, like ideas for songs that you're got like rolling around in your head that you for some reason just can't seem to spit out and get it out there in the right way?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And that was, like we'll take a wait, the first song off the album.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote
Which
that.
we actually talked about. I thought would be an awesome like intro to a podcast.
Oh,
'Cause,
nice.
like a podcast just like what we're doing, where we're talking to musicians, and like it's very much the story that a lot of musicians can relate to. It's like, wait, don't go. I'll
Don't go.
play a song, Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that song like 15 years ago.
Wow.
But it never felt finished. And like one day, speaking of the Twitter community, I posted a video on Instagram or something of a cover song,
Mm-hmm.
and Mando had been like, "When are you gonna post something original?" And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then I remembered that I had that song, and I was like, "If I could just finish this song, I could post it." So I sat down, and I started playing it, and the bridge to the song just kind of like came out of nowhere, and I was like, "That's it! Finally, after 15 years, this is it."
And
This
the
is how-
bridge ties it all together creatively. It really does. Of course, that's what a bridge should do. But "'Cause I don't need you."
Yeah, it's like, what? And before I'd never had that like peak of the song. It just kind of had a little, instrumental break, and I could never figure out what I wanted to say there. Even though it's not like the line's complicated or like nobody
No,
could
but
have thought.
it's perfect for the song, because it's you're appealing to these people to wait and listen to you. But at like the thing that ties it together is like, it doesn't matter if you listen to me or not. Like, I'm still gonna do my thing. Like, this is
I'm still gonna be right here.
Yeah.
I'm right here, and you can be here or you can not be here.
Yeah.
Way.
I Justin and I like to listen to another Austin musician, Johnny Gowdy. I don't know if you know Johnny Gowdy or know of his podcast, How Did I Get Here? It's a fantastic podcast where he's been doing this for many years now, and he does it twice a week. He does these interviews. But I was listening to one yesterday or a couple of days ago where he was interviewing, and I hope I don't get these wrong, but I think it was Brian Wolf, and he put out an album, and the main song that Johnny connected with on that, and they had this lengthy conversation, was about a song that he had written about being the guy in the restaurant that's doing the songs, that's doing the songs, and you're constantly bombarded. Like, you ever do those gigs? I'm sure you've done plenty of those gigs, but you do those gigs, and it doesn't matter how low you go, the manager's going to come over and tell you to turn it down lower.
Oh.
And the people there, they're just going to be like, "Oh God, music. Oh God, a band." Like,
oh man, there's nothing worse than being told to turn down when you're on like.
But I felt like it was a similar. I felt like it was kind of like a similar like perspective to Wait.
Yeah. Speaking of, I have that like. I used to play this wine bar in Lawton, Oklahoma, and they eventually just like stopped booking me, like, because they would book me like once a month. But eventually they just stopped because it got to the point where like I would bring my smallest PA speaker, like my 8-inch PA speaker,
mm-hmm.
and we'd only be running that, and I would be at like volume level 2, but the problem was like my voice was just too loud.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they wanted me to turn down, and I'm like, I'm just singing at this point.
Yep.
Because it was such a, small little wine bar, and they wanted to have a very subdued atmosphere.
Yep. I mean, I I honestly haven't played that many gigs like that, but I played it a couple years ago. I was playing with my friend Russell, and we played at this steakhouse, and it was like on 6th Street or something in Austin. And we showed up to play. It was through a booking agent, which I don't know. I guess you don't use booking agent. Do you book your own gigs?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because like a booking agent's just going to take everything. I think that's my perspective. It's going to take everything and take whoever on their roster will do it. So we did the show, and there was no stage, no area for the performers actually to perform.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically sat over at the side, like at the wall before you get to the bar as you're coming into the restaurant. Kind of sat over there, and then they ran our tiny little PA through the house speakers, and then turned it all the way down. So it was just, they literally wanted us to be the background music. That was what they wanted, and anything we did, they wanted us quieter, because they wanted the people to be able to have their conversations. It was like a fancy steakhouse where people were coming there for romantic meals or whatever.
Right.
And it was just,
and it's like, maybe in that case you should just like hire a piano player to play for a few hours.
Yeah, or just play Spotify or something. Like, you don't need anybody there.
Yeah, you obviously don't want anybody, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that,
right?
You don't want live music. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to definitely accept that live music does come with a certain it comes with certain things that you just can't get rid of.
Yeah.
If I'm up there with a microphone, yes, I'm going to try to talk to your patrons.
Right. Yeah. And if you're me, you're going to be like awkward and goofy like I am on this podcast. And you you may not really want me there because I'm going to say stuff that's off the wall. But so like what's your favorite venue? Like that's probably too controversial to ask. Like what's one of your favorite venues to play?
All right. Well, here let me put it this way. I can say this because they're no longer booking live music, so it's in the past. I'm not going to offend you.
Okay.
But there was a steakhouse / saloon in Quanah, Texas, which I don't know if you know where that is, but it's just a tiny little town. It's got like 2,000 people in it. But the guy that owned it, I'm still good friends with him. His name's Steve. Steve Sparkman. Do you guys know who Darby Sparkman is?
I don't.
Okay. Anyway, she's doing the music thing too. But anyway, it's her dad. But he used to run this steakhouse and saloon, and I would literally go play there every week. Didn't matter what night of the week he wanted me, because it was just so cool. The people were so cool. People would come from all around. It's a steakhouse, but they actually wanted you to be there, and they wanted you to be loud. And
wow,
they were great tippers. But no, it was really cool because you'd go from, I'd start at like 8 o'clock, and you'd go from people coming out having dinner with the family, whatever, and then they'd shut down the food service, and the place would just turn into a fucking honky tonk. Like I was playing there one night. I'm playing. There's not many people there, and Steve calls me up. It's like 10 o'clock, 10:30. Like as I'm playing, he calls my phone, and I'm like, "What's up, Steve?" And he's like, "Hey man, listen, Ross Cooper just played over here at the whatever venue it was." He's like, "And we're all coming over to watch you." And I'm like, "Cool." I was thinking, yeah, man, like 20, 30 people are coming in here. We're gonna have a good time. Like 100 people just rolled in and just started having the best time in the world in this bar. And Ross Cooper and his guys come up, start tipping me to play songs, and damn, I miss that place.
Yeah.
It was called the Old Bank Saloon in Quanah, Texas. It's still around, but I just don't. They don't do music anymore because Steve passed it off to somebody. But anyway, it's a really cool place.
That's got to be a cool feeling because you're talking about before y'all are talking about how these you go to these venues where no one's paying attention. That's obviously frustrating. But then conversely, when you go somewhere and there are people who are listening to you and they're into it, that's got to be like one of the best feelings in the world. It's got to be like at least part of the reason why you did this and why you wrote these songs and learned to play these instruments, right? That's got to be a big part of that. That's just that high that you get that you can't like recreate, right?
Right. And I don't know, this might sound weird, but like the high for me comes from not necessarily like it's not a thing where I'm like, oh, everybody's watching me, everybody's listening to me play music.
Right.
I love the ability to like entertain people and give them, you know, give them a release and a good time. And I'm all about entertaining people. I want people to have a good time. I want them to hear music and really connect with it. Because that's what music is for me when I go to see a show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm there because it's, doing something for me, whether it be, just casually, spiritually, whatever it might be. But for me to be able to give that gift to someone else at a particular time is like, that's what I love.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
That's cool. And I think also like, something that you wrote that you hear people, if people are singing along, I mean, obviously I'm sure you experienced that. That's got to be just an incredible feeling also.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's in that sense, it's incredible just because you've managed to like something you created, managed to form a little community for whatever small amount of time it is. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody can feel that camaraderie. Even if it's, and I've had that moment even where it's not my song, just being able to play a song and everybody, join in and singing and just create that vibe, I guess, where everybody's just in the moment.
Yeah, just to connect with people on however you can connect to get them, in the same space with you, the same emotional space with you while you're doing the songs is pretty. It's challenging, but it's also rewarding when you have that happen.
Yeah, definitely. And that's all.
So,
I just pass on that gift.
Do we want to go for another song here?
Sure. Yeah. What do you want to hear?
I mean, I can make a request, but
all right.
I don't want to, like, if you have something you specifically want to do, I want you to do that. But
no, make your request.
Let's do Rodeo Clown.
Rodeo Clown. Okay. I might have to get up for a second, find my cape.
Uh oh. Okay. I saw shorts.
What's that?
I said I saw shorts.
Shorts. Oh no.
Not a jong or a jorts, but
nope.
Yeah, shorts. Yeah.
They're not jeans. I don't know what they are.
Like khaki shorts, maybe or something. Yeah.
I don't know. I bought them like 10 years ago.
Hey, wait. Can I ask you something about your guitar? Or two things about your guitar? First of all, what is it?
It's a Breed Love.
And what's the deal with the tape?
So the clip that holds the battery in broke, and they don't make it anymore. Yeah. So it was either buy a new
pickup
system or just duct tape the battery.
So there you go.
All right, so this song is called Rodeo Clown. Friday night, my work is done. I'm covered up in cuts, bruises, coughing dust up from my lungs. But by now, I'm used to it. I'm the star of the show for 30 seconds, 5 times a night. Make them laugh, make them crow, take the troubles off their mind. 'Cause I'm running around everywhere around. Can't wipe the smile off my face. town to town, and I leave out a tree. I retire my 6x10 with a bed and a sink. It ain't much, it ain't new. It's a lot like me. Gotta get on the road just before the break of day. Gotta put 500 miles between me and this place. 'Cause I'm clown everywhere around. Can't wipe the smile on my face. Never settle down. Off town to town, and I'll leave out a tree. Down, everywhere around. Can't wipe the smile on my face. Never settle down. From town to town, and I'll leave out a tree. That was Rodeo Clown.
Yeah, that's an awesome song too. And I was gonna ask you a question about this. So I noticed on your site you have for Heartache Kid, which is the album that came out in late May, you have 3 singles. You have Heartache Kid, the title track, you have Wait, Don't Go, which we were just talking about a little bit ago. And then you have this, and then the third single is This Can't Be It, which another great song. I've been listening to that. That song's like been in my head also the last 2 weeks. My question is if you're gonna have a 4th single, is Rodeo Clown the 4th single?
It won't be the 4th single.
Okay.
Just because this next one is going to be the first one that I'm going to send out to Texas Country Radio.
Okay.
So I'm going to have it pick a little bit more upbeat one, most likely.
Okay. And do you want to disclose that song, or are you holding on to that?
I think it's going to be Palomino. And there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, it's all sorts of weird reasons to choose a single, I guess.
Yeah.
That one's gotten a lot of good playlist feedback. Plus, it's towards the top of the record. I've found actually matters in this new streaming era.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it came in second on the Twitter poll, right? So
yeah, that's true too. And it's just kind of got that upbeat kind of drive to it. Probably the only positive song on the album. So,
well, it's interesting you talk about the song order and how they're listed on the album, because I've always thought this, like, I always thought it compared well to like a baseball lineup. Like, you want your best hitters to bat first, second, third, fourth in the lineup, right? So I always felt like singles or hit songs are almost always in that area. It seems like to me with bands, and I'm sure that's obviously they do that on purpose. So there's something to that. Yeah,
I think it's a little bit more, even more so now in the streaming area, because I mean, you can definitely, like, when you look at your numbers, I mean, you can see that the tracks at the bottom of the album definitely get not as many spins as the rest.
Right.
Yep. But I can attest to that. My streaming numbers, I'm sure, nowhere near yours, but the last song on the album has got the lowest number of streams. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. It's just how it goes.
I don't know if that's like an attention span thing or what,
Well, I think it's a lot of it's, people checking you out to decide if they dig what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them may only make it through 3 or 4 songs or something, which is fair. I won't fault anybody for listening to being like, nah, that's not my thing. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I definitely don't do is I don't keep that in mind when creating a track list. Because to me, even though this is the new world we live in, to me, like the album format is still like my love. I still love the album format, and I'm not gonna sacrifice that to the streaming gods.
Right. Sacrifice it to like appease the algorithms and whatnot. Like, yeah, that's one of the things I was curious about, because you obviously released some singles before the album, but you still stuck with the album format.
Yeah, I think it's what I grew up on. It's what I grew up loving music on.
Yeah, me too. You want to put it on and play all the way through, especially when you start to really love somebody's work, like you want to hear like the story that they planned to tell, that they wanted to tell. You don't want to just hear like bits and pieces of the story. You don't want to go in and like listen to a chapter.
Exactly.
Like you.
And I found like apparently I'm the odd person out in like everyone that I know, because like I don't use, like, when I go on Spotify, I go on it and intentionally listen to an album. Like, I'm not a big like playlist person. Like I don't utilize playlists a lot. I don't utilize like radio stations a lot. Like I'm going, even if I've never heard you before, I'm going to your profile and I'm picking one of your albums to listen to. Because I want to hear that statement. I want to hear what the statement is.
I've actually started trying to think about that myself, because I've got a handful of songs that I've written that I haven't put on haven't recorded at all, and I could, like, I've been releasing singles, and I could just continue doing that, which I think, as far as like if you're trying to game the system, which is kind of the way I think about it. You're kind of trying to game the system by constantly releasing, one thing after another, and trying to promote that one thing. Like, it's easier to create a song, promote it, create a song. I mean, it's easier in one way, it's harder in others, but you write a bunch of songs, you release one at a time, you've got a steady stream of things to promote. But it's not satisfying to me as
I'm with you there. It's not, it feels too I don't know.
I don't know. I like albums. I like albums as concepts. I like albums as like, this is the sound of this artist at this time period, like that whole thing,
Yeah.
Like, this is the subject matter of what was going through this person's mind at the time that they released this body of work,
Yeah, and I was big like Counting Crows fan when I was growing up. And one thing you definitely miss, like especially with artists like that and lyricists like that, is like recurring themes throughout an album. You can't get that with singles. You can't get that time where you spend looking at the interconnectedness in all of it. Because our brains we're not just firing off a song and then moving on. We might fire off a song. We might fire off 4 or 5 different songs about the same subject, looking at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And
that's very true.
Important to get all that together and be able to nerd out on it.
Yeah. Well, it also, the other thing that it also captures is, I mean, in your case, you're kind of completely single-handedly doing it, but it definitely captures like whatever you're, whoever you're working with too at the time. Like, you could, that in and of itself will help determine like the sound that, of course, the sound that you're coming up with.
that's a good point, because I'm already thinking, like, you know, as far as like putting together, you know, another, you know, unreleased single or EP or whatever it would be. Obviously not right now or anytime soon, but in the future.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking, like, I know what it sounds like when I drum on a record now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm in a band now, and I've got a guy drumming for me who's, you know, 3 times as good as I am. And what's it gonna sound like when he's on, you know, writing the parts for these songs and stuff?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's naturally sound different.
And this actually reminds me of something I was going to ask you earlier about the whole songwriting process. I may have asked you this before on Twitter. I can't remember. But when it comes to writing songs, like, do you bounce your ideas off people?
Well, sometimes. Like I said, I've worked with my brother a lot.
Right.
And I definitely bounce ideas off of him. But I'm very, like, when it comes to lyrics, I'm very
protective.
Yeah. And that's just because, I don't know. I guess I see myself as, if it's the music I'm making, I'm the captain of the musical ship,
Mm-hmm.
the director, or whatever. And I don't know, just tightly control that. I guess I don't know. But I've been definitely, like, you know, in bands before, it's been a very collaborative process. And I think it's different now just because I you know, spend a lot of time creating and doing the things just by myself, just because I have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different experience when you work with someone else. I definitely understand your perspective on the lyrics part of it. I've personally found like I've had some influences with lyrical content and stuff. I remember specifically a song that I wrote and thought I had it down pretty good, and I sent it to my friend who's another songwriter, and he's like, you know, this second verse, I feel like it's good, but you can do better. And it was just like that push that said, like, it's okay, but it's not as good as you can get. Like, you can come up with some more.
Oh yeah, I love feedback like that.
Yeah.
I love to tell the story. I don't know if my wife likes me to tell the story, but first time I ever did a radio interview, I just released a song, and I was practicing it because I knew I was going to go play it on the radio the next day. And she hadn't heard it, and she popped in, and she was like, "What are you playing on the radio tomorrow? I hope it's not that song."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Oh, that's the one I just released, like, yesterday." And she's like, no, but that was a really defining moment for me, because it was like, yes, like, now it's out in the open. I could take something to her, and she can tell me it's garbage, and that's fine. Like, and she can tell me why she doesn't like something. It doesn't bother me. Like, you know, and so I think it's definitely very important to have that person that you can bounce off, and they can give you honest feedback and tell you, like, no, this ain't it.
Yeah. Like, 100%, you don't need somebody to say you're doing. You don't need somebody to just tell you that, like, oh, it's great, I love it, you're amazing. Like, that's not helpful, really. I've actually thought in the past, I've thought about, like, blasting social media with like, okay, you've heard my songs, you don't like them, why not? Like, like, I want to hear that. Like, I want to hear somebody come in and say, because you talk about this theme too much, or your voice, or whatever it is, you know. Like, I would be interested in hearing that feedback. People are scared to give that kind of feedback, I think, sometimes, but
they are. I think it's, and, you know, understandably, some people get, you know, some people can get really hurt by that, and, you know, especially if it's not said in the right way or something. But
right,
I think after you spend so much time doing it, like, I don't want to say that your skin gets thick,
Mm-hmm.
but you just get so used to all the various forms of rejection
Right.
that, like, I don't even notice rejection that much anymore. It's just, you don't like it, okay,
Yep.
cool. Oh, you don't want to book me, that's fine. It doesn't bother me.
I had a late night Twitter conversation last night with Derek McClendon about booking stuff. It actually started yesterday, like throughout the day or whatever. But it was like he was trying. He's, I don't know if you've noticed, he's been like trying to get booked for specific dates in November in Central Texas, and he's like struggling to find places to play. And we were talking about one particular venue, which I guess I probably won't name, but anyway, one particular venue that that we both. I sent him a message, and I was like, "Gosh, that place is great, but it might be a little bit like the expectations of the venue might be a little bit high for us. Like it might be a little out of our league, I guess is what I said. I didn't say it for him. I said for me, but he's like,
I'm willing personally to tell somebody, like, no, I cannot play there. Like,
yeah,
if I play there and bring 10 people, I'll never play there again.
You'll never play there again. Exactly. Yeah. No, but that was just my first thought about that place. And I mentioned that to him. I said, it's going to be out of my league, but like, if you get a show there, I'm damn sure going to come. And he's like, you know what? It might be out of my league too, but I'm going to email them. And what's the worst that can happen? They're going to say no. He's like, I've like been there, done that.
Yeah. Like, it's just,
like no is a good thing half the time when you're trying to book shows. Like
no means you can move on.
Yeah, no means you don't have to harass them anymore. Like no means they actually got your email, paid attention to it, and like decided they're going to go in a different direction. Like it still blows my mind that people run a business in I'm not you. I can say this. I'm not like hitting up places all the time to try to play really, but like it blows my mind. Like if I acted that way in my day job, where I didn't just ignored things that came through my desk, looking for a response, I wouldn't have a job, like.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand, like, there's some venues, like some of the bigger ones, I'm sure everybody and their brother emails them that's been in a band for 3 weeks,
Yeah. You're right. You're right. And also like some of the places, it's also the case that, music may not be their first priority. It's kind of the thing that they do to help bring in customers, but it's not necessarily the first thing. So they're just going to kind of grab whoever comes at the top of their inbox when they first look at the computer that day. So I get it. It's just, it's frustrating.
I've had the experience where, like, you email a venue, follow up, never hear from them. And then, 6 months later, they're like, hey, can you do these dates? So it's like, everybody's busy. We all got lives. No need to burn bridges. And
you're right.
I'm sure there's definitely, some venues out there that would love to shit talk on me for whatever reason.
Yeah. So all of you places that I've emailed that didn't respond to me, I wasn't talking about you.
That's it. Yeah.
It was other venues, I promise.
Matt, you've got a lot of upcoming shows coming up, and we were talking about booking these venues. Do you also try to contact the radio station that's nearby that might play your music, or what's that process like? Do you try to like go out of your way, or do you pick places where you're like, I know this station, we might be able to get on there. They might interview me for 10 minutes and let me play a song or something. Is that part of the process too?
That's usually like once I confirm, like once the venue's booked, I'll usually try and reach out to different local places, which is, can be difficult because, I mean, especially when you're on tour and you've got like 5-6 hour drives between places, you might not, it's tough to line up. But like, usually it's really it's nice to connect with like local entertainment sites or something like that, because that's something that can be done very easily, like via email, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm getting better at the press part. I am still not good at it by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm sure. Yeah, no, you're doing great today. I'm sure that probably nowadays, like with a lot of these radio stations, they probably have podcasts also, and you probably could do stuff in advance from home. Like that's probably
Actually,
something.
that I was going to say that's a good point. I'm actually tomorrow. There's a couple radio country stations that are within an hour to 2 hours of my house that I'll be going to talk to on their podcast. So we'll see how that goes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
I'll report back.
And you're actually going to do both of those things with you when you do the Texas River Tonk deal on, right? Aren't you doing that on July 1st?
Yep.
So he's got it's actually a radio show and a podcast. So
that was just fate. Just lucked into that one.
Yeah.
Because when I booked the show, I didn't realize he was so close.
That dude is a huge promoter of this sort of indie scene. Blake, like he's a super nice dude. He actually came out to Ghost Note and watched my cousin's band. And I refer to it as my cousin's band, like it's like not a real band or something, but it's they're like
it's your cousin's band, man.
But
yeah, to me it's my cousin's band. But
I didn't find that out until right now on this podcast. I didn't know that until you said that earlier, because you sent me their stuff too, and I was like, yeah, this sounds great. You didn't mention that it was your cousin.
Yeah. Brave Little Howl. Check them out. They're great.
Yeah.
They're like
the
that.
Question is it your younger cousin?
Oh yes.
so you could say it's my little cousin's band.
My little cousin. Yeah. We used to call him Clay Baby.
We used to call him what?
We used to call him Clay Baby. We call him Clay Baby. I don't know. That's what we did. His name's Clay. But anyway, Blake came out to that show. Brought his whole crew. Showed up. Blake came out when I played with Zach Welch at the oh my God, Cheatham Street Warehouse in San Marcos. Like however many months ago. It was great. It was a lot of fun because so. This is another thing I wanted to ask you about, or just kind of talk to you about it a little bit. Like this whole Twitter community, it's like we all kind of like interact with each other, and I didn't know who most of you guys even were before I started like getting more engaged in Twitter. Like I completely.
I always think fam is the best fam.
Do what?
Twitter fam is the best fam.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Like I don't see any of the negativity and the not. I mean, there's people shit post all the time, but. Like I don't see the kind of crap that I would see like on other social media platforms, but I didn't know who Zach was until I got on Twitter and I was listening to some of his songs, and just random posting and replying to people about like the fact that I play fiddle, and he's like, I got contacted because I had played some shows with Jordan Nix, and Zach was going to play the show at Cheatham Street with Robert Herrera as like a kind of like an opening deal, and Robert told him to contact me about fiddle. Anyway, Zach brings like a whole boatload of people with him. Like he brings like a whole boatload of people, like songwriters, friends, like just the dude, like they just show up, and when they show up, he's like, yeah, come do some songs. And so like he had Jacob Bryan Marshall and Jacob Charles. No, sorry. Jacob Charles showed up, but he didn't play, or didn't. He did play, but he wasn't like scheduled to play. It was Jacob Bryan Marshall and Colton Mathis did like an opening like songwriter swap before we got up there and played. But then like during his set, he had Jacob Charles get up there, and Cade, what's his name? Cade Anson got up there, and like just like he brought them all with him. Like just to play and sing songs, like that was half the audience, unfortunately. I mean, it was a hell of a time, but it was fun because like actually meeting these guys and seeing them do their thing. But like, I know you're playing with Zach this next weekend, right?
Yeah, this this Sunday.
Yeah. And so like, is it through Twitter that you know these guys, or just from playing shows in the same areas, or like what's?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's through Twitter. Just because, and I think it's because Twitter is such a conversational platform,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the other ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that, at any given point in the day, if I've got some downtime, I can literally get on Twitter and bullshit with you guys. And
Yeah, that's right.
and it's, you just get to know people that way, and I think it's nice because it's very like spread out. Like, our community is like everywhere, and like, booking these tours, like, everyone on Twitter has been like immensely helpful, just because, like, I just the other day, it's like, hey, does anybody know weekday shows in Ohio? I'm not from Ohio. I've never been to Ohio.
Yeah.
But
Did you get those shows booked?
Through Twitter Fam, we got it done,
Hell yeah.
and I've had like James Guetta. I don't know if you are familiar with James, but he's a singer songwriter from Chicago, and he contacted me. He's like, hey man, I'm coming through Oklahoma, you think you can help me out? Like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to come through, I'm talking to any singer songwriters, anybody. If you want to come through Oklahoma, please talk to me. We need music badly. I will hook you up.
Yeah. It's been nothing but positive experience for me, and I found a lot of great music. Like I was mentioning Derek McClendon earlier, like that dude.
Oh, yeah, that album's incredible.
That dude, it blows my mind because he just puts out these. He's got at least two. I guess just two. He's got two albums that he put out, just guitar and vocals, and it's so like entrancing to me. Like he's a really good songwriter. His voice is incredible, but like he can just pull you in with just his guitar and vocals. Like he didn't need anything else.
Yeah, definitely. He's got that vibe.
Yeah,
which is awesome. I wish I had that vibe, but some people are meant for that.
I think you got the vibe. It's just a different way of presenting your stuff. I think.
Yeah, he's got a very storyteller way of presenting it.
Yep.
Which I think is really great.
Yep, he does.
Like it almost feels like you're listening to an audiobook or something.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the song about the? Oh my God! It's the song that he wrote about his uncle.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Look it up. I'm cheating.
It's like a one-word title.
Yeah, it is. No, it's Cocaine and Coffee. That's the one.
Oh.
Cocaine and Coffee. Like he kills somebody in that song and everything. It's great.
I guess that's the fun uncle, right?
Yeah, the fun uncle.
Yeah.
Cocaine and Coffee.
Oh, nothing like killing people in your songs, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Earlier I was kind of joking about the, you said you're Twitter fan, but like y'all really should come up with like a name for it. I think you should. I mean, maybe it is Twitter fan, but like something that's more specific to your group of people. I think that's a good idea.
We call it indie country Twitter fan or something.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think, interestingly, I think that one of the common themes in a lot of these folks that we interact with is 301 production, 301 Studios Productions, whatever, with Ethan Whitaker. Like he's kind of like brought a lot of these guys together.
Oh yeah.
And they're kind of in that North Texas area, and so they kind of work with him. He produces their stuff and kind of brings a lot of that stuff together. He's an interesting dude. What's that?
I have a lot of interaction with him.
Oh yeah. He was at that Cheatham Street warehouse deal with Zach, and actually he's the one that reached out to me originally to bring me on to play fiddle. Robert texted me first and was like, hey, I got a guy who needs fiddle in San Marcos, and then he passed it on to Ethan, and I talked to Ethan. But like, yeah, I think he's kind of like the mastermind behind that whole thing.
Well, see, now that I'm thinking about it, you've just kind of given yourself away here, Jason. You play fiddle. You can obviously you've got some sort of studio set up there, so I'm probably gonna need you to play fiddle on the next record.
Well, goodness, Matt. I wasn't really trying to like leverage for this, but gosh, that's actually what this whole podcast has been about.
The whole plan, yeah.
Hey man, I just met a fiddle player with a studio. I'm in hog heaven right now. I'm about to start.
There you go.
He either wants to be on your next album, or he wants y'all to create a the Vanish like tribute band.
Vanish the Lears.
That's it. I got like Twitter has just been amazing. Like I meet you, I meet all these other guys. I'm playing these shows like on the like filling in for fiddle. I actually played in Galveston with Jacob Ryan Marshall a few weeks back, and that's actually when Justin and I started talking about this podcast. Is because I went down to Galveston, played that show, and stopped through Houston on the way back home and spent the night. I slept on Justin's couch, and we talked about all the music that I've been consuming from you guys on Twitter, essentially, and we kind of decided, because we talked about this forever and put this together, but I forgot what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say, Justin?
No, I mean, like, we were talking about this podcast for a long time, and you've mentioned, Matt and these different people that you mentioned that are these Twitter friends you've established recently. And I think that's kind of what made you want to finally do this podcast. And because you're playing with these people and you like their music, and if there's some way that possibly we could, help spread their music. Not that, I mean, obviously this is our first episode. This is, we have a very small following. Hopefully it grows and expands and goes crazy. But if we could help people, let people get to know these people, and then also, if we can share their music to other people, that's kind of the goal of this podcast. And, that day was one of those days where, you were like, hey, you got to listen to Matt's song. And right away, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, I'm gonna have to listen to all this stuff. So
yeah. And the other part of that is like, it's not just like, because it's people that I am able to interact, which that's another cool thing about Twitter, is you can interact with people.
Right.
That on other platforms, you might be just like not even a blip on their radar, because there's just like whatever.
And one of the interesting things about Twitter too is I think there's a lot of big accounts, big creators.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason on Twitter they run themselves, whereas they don't on other platforms. So you're actually talking to
it's weird. Yeah, like I got a text message. This is a totally bizarre thing. I mean, to me, it's bizarre because I don't get these kinds of things happening to me. But today I got a text message. I'm gonna look it up so I say it right. Laser Lloyd. Have you ever heard of Laser Lloyd?
I don't think so.
Okay, so this is like a singer-songwriter type guy. He's got several albums. He lives in Israel.
Okay.
And I noticed a couple of days ago he started following me. And I got a text message today from his manager, who's like, hey, we're trying to book a tour in Texas. We'd love to try to set something up where you can play fiddle with Laser at some of his shows. I'm like, okay, awesome. So,
I mean, he did a great promotional tweet about this very episode yesterday. I believe it was.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So we really appreciate him.
Yep. So Twitter, it's like a small, huge universe, like in some weird, like,
y'all develop like a cool pocket in that universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you found a space, and hopefully with shows like this and other shows, we can help expand it. If that's the goal.
Oh, and the other thing I was going to say is, it's not just because I know people or because I'm interacting with people.
Right.
It's like, this is quality shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That might be the first curse word on this podcast, but this is quality stuff. Like, your album is phenomenal, like top notch, like top quality, high production value. Even if you did it yourself, whatever, no, like it sounds like it's supposed to sound, and it's got a you know, it's got strong songwriting from start to finish. And so, you know, like this is great that we can talk with you, have you on our podcast, because you're not too big to come on our little podcast.
I'm almost too small to come on your podcast.
But like we'll get to have these conversations with people. That's the idea. I think that's the idea, is have this little universe that we exist in, whether it's Twitter or it expands to, you know, whatever. Because again, like I said, we're gonna meet in person. I've met some of these other folks in person and played some shows with them, and I just want to bring all of you guys in and just like tell everybody in the world how great you are. That's the idea.
I'm all for it, and I swear to God, one day we're gonna have an indie country Twitter. Like
there you go. Yeah.
And I just have to say that, like, and Jason knows this. I mean, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination a country music fan. Like I just don't have the background that y'all do, and that's not really what I listen to. But I've really enjoyed listening to your music, Matt, and Jason, the stuff you share with me. And obviously your music how it's changed, how you went from like a rock band to, you know, rock band is more of like what I kind of listen to what you play now. Like, I mean, I think good music is good music regardless of the genre, and country music is not my genre, but I've enjoyed listening to this music and the stuff that Jason's been, you know, sharing with me and saying, hey, check this out. And it kind of opened my mind. I'm like, there's so many talented people out there that like deserve like a spotlight shined in their way. And if we can help do that in some small way, that's honestly what we're trying to do here. So,
I mean, and it's awesome. And I say country music, but that's just, we live in Oklahoma and Texas. Half of everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Basically, any guy with a guitar is going to be called a country music person if he doesn't watch out. But yeah, I don't know, just kind of the term I use, because otherwise you get wrapped up in Americana, singer songwriter, whatever have you.
Yeah.
I think the labels are pretty restrictive, aren't they? Like as far as like the genres, because like to me, it's really hard to put you in a genre. I don't, because I don't. There's country aspects, but then there's also like I can kind of hear like indie rockish stuff. Like it's like I said, the Killer kind of thing that I heard before. Like it seems like that's kind of restrictive.
Yeah, like I feel like, you know, I want you to be who you want to be in terms of the genre, but like I wouldn't have put you in the category of country. I really wouldn't.
Right,
I would have.
Yeah. And that's you know, honestly, that's something I've had quite a few people say to me. But the only reason I really say, you know, I play country music is because that's primarily what inspires the music that I make.
No, there you go. Yeah.
So, you know, Tom T. Hall country is whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be anything. It's a broad enough term that can encompass so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rock music the same way. I mean, like there's so many things that are fit in that category.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, rock music. What does rock music encompass? Encompasses everything from Chuck Berry to Rush. You know?
Right.
Because I don't like to get down in the weeds on genre labels.
Yeah. So do we want to maybe close with another song, or?
Sure. I'll always play a song. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You know,
we'd love to hear another one.
All right. I'll play the. Let's see. I'll play the second winner on the poll. I'll play Palomino.
Okay.
Sherry, won't you tell me where you got that Palomino? It always had an eye for a pearl. It ain't like no quarter horse that I've seen. She's the tame that creature down. She's gonna break the speed of sound. Sherry, won't you tell me where you got that Palomino? Coat as bright as the sun. It ain't like no cold horse that I've seen. Man, that girl can run. Gonna show us a thing or two. Everything we thought we knew. You won't tame that creature down. She's gonna break the speed of sound. Gonna show us a thing or two. Got everything we thought we knew. Sherry, won't you tell me where you got that Palomino? We always had an eye for pearls.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
Thank you.
That's the
Hopefully
second.
the next single.
Yeah, that's off the. Is that the second track on the album or the third track?
Second.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Matt, we really appreciate all your time. We appreciate the music. Last thing we want to ask you is how can people find your music, and just tell us some of your upcoming shows, some of the dates and stuff, and how people can find your music and your social media handles so people can follow you.
Okay. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I shit post on all of them, so come join the fun. They're not just advertising tools to me. I like to meet people like you guys.
Yeah.
My handles on all of them are just at Matt Moran Music. You can find me anywhere you stream music. My website, mattmoranmusic.com, has access to everything you might want to know, from shows to where you can stream it, where you can buy it. Got t-shirts and stuff. How you can get a hold of me. Again, that's mattmoranmusic.com. As for shows coming up this weekend, we got Harvest House in Denton. I'm playing with Brian Lambert, another Twitter fam guy. And then on Sunday, Magnolia Motor Lounge in Fort Worth with Billy Law and Zach Welch. And then in July, I will be going through the Midwest to New York. So if you live in the Midwest, I'll be coming to you. And I'll be coming back around. And then in August, I'll be going out to North Carolina and back. So check out my website to keep up with those dates.
Awesome. And I just want to let you know, while we've been streaming this on YouTube, at the bottom of the screen, we have a ticker that's had your website on there the whole time and your Twitter handle. And then in the description on YouTube, we have all of your handles. So if you want to follow Matt on social media, just click the description on YouTube and you can click on his TikTok, his Instagram, his Facebook, and his Twitter account. And all the information's there. So again, we really appreciate having you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Jason, how can people find you on social media?
I'm not on social media. I'm talking about.
We only talked about Twitter for like 2 hours. Yeah.
It's funny. We were joking earlier. I can't even remember what my website is. It's jasonrayharrell.com. Twitter is at jasonharrell, Texas. I'm all over the streaming places, all the places you consume music from. You can find me there.
Yep.
Jason Harrell. There's two Jason Harrells. I always like to tell that there's two Jason Harrells. I'm the white one. Just to clear things up for
Just to
everyone.
clarify. Okay.
Yep.
That's all right. There's a couple Matt Morans out there, and I am not the Australian chef.
There you go. Yep.
Okay. Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter handles are letter R Justin B, the letter B. So R Justin B is the Twitter handle. And I have another podcast where I talk about superheroes and blockbuster movies. So if you want to check that out, it's called The Watchers in the Basement. And we're everywhere you can find podcasts. We're also on YouTube. So just do a quick search for that. And as far as for this podcast, we're obviously on YouTube right now. So we appreciate everybody who's watching us live, and we appreciate the people who watch us later on. But our podcast is also on podcast services such as Spotify and Anchor. Usually just a tip, like if we're doing our shows on Tuesday night or whenever we're doing it, our audio versions won't be available until probably the next day. But we will have them on like I said, podcast services like Spotify and Anchor. And there's many more that are in the works. I'm working on that as we speak. So we should be on everything going forward. And the one thing we ask you, this is a free podcast. We ask that you please subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe or follow our show on all these platforms that I've mentioned, like Spotify and Anchor, and soon to be an Apple Podcast. And if you could please give us a rate us and review us, that would be awesome. We appreciate that. And the final thing I want to plug is the fact that we're on social media. Obviously, we're on Instagram and Twitter. We're at LFDT Pod. So again, at LFDT Pod. And give us a follow, and we appreciate it. So, Jason, any final words on our first episode?
Nope. I think we're going to try to do this as consistently as we can, mostly on Tuesday. Yep. Like I mentioned in our little teaser thing, you guys have suggestions for us to have folks on. Shoot them our way. They got to be good. So
Matt Moran he's the measuring stick. He's the bar. So they've got to be at least as good as Matt. That's going to be tough to live up to that.
You low bar, don't you? Huh?
You actually don't have to be as good as Matt. But you got to be good. You got to be interesting at least. But that's pretty much it.
Okay, so thanks again, Matt. We appreciate your time and for being our first guest, and we hope to have you on the show again down the road when you have other things you want to promote or just to talk to us about Twitter or The Vanished. Obviously, I think that's what we've all learned, that The Vanished is Jason's favorite band.
Vanished right now.
That's awesome.
And then also his little cousin's band.
The little
That's
cousin,
right.
yeah.
Brave Little Hell. Brave Little Hell.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like we'll probably have them on the show.
Most definitely.
I know somebody who knows them. So
yeah, you do. You do.
Yeah. So once again, thanks for everyone for watching. Thanks for Matt for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we will see you very soon. Have a good night. Thank you.